Hello, everybody. It's Mr. Drew, and this is the Chapter 1, Section 3 additional notes. And if you have not watched my outline video yet for Section 3, please do so now. It's only about 3.5 minutes. And this is where the bulk of our notes is going to come from. This one's going to be longer than that one, just because of how much we have to write. Please know that you do not have to write every word that I have here. But if you want to, definitely write it because this is definitely the information that we need. So there are 5 core pillars of foundations to democracy. And the first one is the worth of the individual. This means that in a democratic society, individuality, me being who I am, you being who you are, is extremely valuable. We want people to be unique. We want people to be different and separate and distinct in their own way. And we do not see, as much as some other societies, especially in a lot of countries in like Asia, we do not see collectivism, like us being all one, having the same similar ideas, similar thoughts, opinions, as a good thing. We want to be different. We want to be individualized. And we're definitely not a dictatorship like Korea, where we're forced to conform to like certain haircuts, certain ways of dress. So be aware of that. But just because we have that unity and we believe, just because we have that individuality and we find it super important to be different, doesn't mean that we do not unite and cooperate with each other. We still make sure that we pay our taxes. We still make sure we obey the law and we protect our country from foreign invaders. We make sure that we are together, we are still unified. So just because we're different and we like being ourselves and individuality doesn't mean that we do not care about our fellow person. Our next pillar that belongs to the foundation of democracy is the equality of all persons. This believes that everybody has the equality of opportunity. So we believe that everybody has the same opportunity in the end to do something. If I want to start a business and if you want to start a business, we can. We just need to have the money and the resources, and that's it. If we can get that, it's up to us if our business succeeds or fails. Now, that does not always mean that we're going to be equal in certain regards, and I will cover that in a second. But in theory, it's the idea that we have equality of opportunity, that we have a chance to do something, not necessarily the outcome. Our outcomes can be different, and they are different. And equality of all persons means that we're equal under the law. It means that it doesn't matter if I break it, you break it, Mrs. Lucas breaks it, or even Jeff Bezos breaks the law. If we're speeding down the highway at 100 miles per hour, if the cop sees us, we're going to get pulled over. We're going to get a ticket, and we're going to pay for our crime. If we get caught, we are all equal under the law. So that is what equality of all persons means. Now, it also means that I am not going to be discriminated against some arbitrary thing like my skin color or my religion or my gender. In this type of a society, in a democratic society, this does not or should not matter. Sometimes we don't succeed at this, but this is why, if you want a democracy, you need to have this. Now, I do want to point out that not everyone is free or equal in the same way. We don't get to choose what family we're born into. So we are not equal in conditions. Sometimes people are born rich and some people are born poor, and that does happen. This is where we're unequal. We don't get to choose that. Now, we can become rich or we can become poor through capitalism, and we'll discuss that later. But when we're born into life, we don't get to choose. We do not get to choose if we're able-bodied or if we are handicapped. So we need to be aware that sometimes life is unfair and that we are not equal in every single regard. but we are again equal in opportunity and under the law. That is what equality of all persons means. Our third pillar of our foundation is majority rule and minority rights. The majority rule in a democracy is the belief that the majority opinion or will of the people will drive public policy. People believe that majority rule is more right more often than it is wrong. Now, the majority rule be wrong? Absolutely. It has happened before in history and it will happen again in history. It's just we need to be aware that overall majority rule is fine because usually the most people will get it right under this theory. However, just because the majority rules, and even though the most amount of people, their ideas are happening and it will drive laws and policy forward, it doesn't mean that the people that have minority opinions, ideas, and I'm not talking about minority like someone that has like a different skin color. I'm talking about minority in the sense that we have different ideas, different opinions that differ from the majority. So they still have rights. Minorities still have rights. They have their voice heard. They have to be recognized and acknowledged. Their opinion still matters, and they can sometimes influence the ideas of the majority. So minorities still have a voice, and they are not shut out. The minute they are shut out, democracy is no more. So you need majority rule and the minorities to have their rights and their voice heard. So these are the first three ideas of democracy. The third pillar of our foundation to democracy is the necessity of compromise. If you remember what I've talked before in the past, compromise is when we meet in the middle. We adjust our ideas or our way of thinking and we come to a mutual agreement with the other party. If you think about it, we are all different. Remember, up here, we said the worth of the individual is one of the most important parts. So we believe in individuality. So that means that everybody has multiple ways of thinking about different laws, different ideas, different opinions about certain aspects of our society. And we all could have, theoretically, different opinions. And if we are all different and we don't have some type of unity, we will never reach a majority rule. So, in order to reach a majority rule, we come to compromises. We said, you know what? I was using this example earlier. If I like pineapple on my pizza, but whoever's listening to this, you hate pineapple on your pizza, how would we order our pizza? Because if I get it without pineapple, I'm going to say, oh, I'm sad I don't like this pizza because I like pineapple. But if we do get pineapple on it, you would say, ew, I don't like pineapple. One compromise we can come to is, you know what? Let's split the pizza in half. One side has pineapple, the other side doesn't. So we're both happy. That could be a compromise. Or we could say, you know what? You don't like pineapple, but I like pineapple. So we're not getting agreements on that. Wait, do you like onions? Oh, you like onions? I like onions. Let's get onions on our pizza instead. So that would be another example of us coming to a compromise on pizza. The same thing happens in government. Whenever there's a high importance law or there's a high importance uh, election or whatever's going on, sometimes there has to be compromise in order for things to move forward. So remember, if we don't have compromise, nothing would ever get done. And our last foundation of democracy is individual freedoms. We talked about individual worth, so we believe the individual is super important and we love our individuality. But individual freedoms means their key foundation, it's like one of the key foundations of our government. It means I get to do whatever I want to do as long as it doesn't hurt you or anyone else. So if I like to have pineapple on my pizza, That is not against the law, and it gives me individual freedom. I have the freedom to enjoy that and express my opinion of that because it doesn't affect anyone but me. But the minute I start forcing you to eat pineapple on pizza and forcing you to, I put in air quotes here, like it, that's when I would be breaking the rules, and I would not be respecting your individual freedom because that's infringing on your right to not like it. We can have different opinions. That's perfectly fine. So as long as it doesn't hurt someone else. A perfect example of something where someone does not have freedom and your freedoms are limited is we cannot go into a movie theater and shout fire because that would cause a mass panic and that's risking other people's safety and people could get hurt. I'm causing chaos and it could, if we had 100% freedom, we would have anarchy because that means there's no structure, there's no laws, there's no rules because anarchy, they don't believe in that. So make sure you understand that individual freedoms is a huge part. In the United States, we'll discuss this in chapter 3. One of our key uh, freedoms comes from the Bill of Rights is the freedom of speech. That is an individual freedom, and we will learn more about individual freedoms as we move on. So remember, you need all 5 of these: worth of the individual, equality of all persons, majority rules, minority rights, compromise, and individual freedoms. If any one of those is missing from your government, you no longer have a democracy. Right here, I just have some examples because we discussed duties and responsibilities. Remember from my last video, I said duties are things you have to do in a society, and responsibilities are just things you have the option of doing. You don't have to do it, but it's highly encouraged. So in duties, you have to serve on a jury if you are called to do so. You have to pay your taxes. You have to obey the laws. And you have to serve as a witness in a trial. If they say, oh, we need you as a witness, you have to do it. These are things you have to do. These are just some examples. There are more than this, but these are the key examples. Now, responsibilities, you should vote. You should volunteer helping our community. You should participate in civil life. That means civic life, I mean. In a civic life, that means you have to, not have to, you should learn who your representatives are. Get to know the candidates when it's time to vote. You should vote. That goes with voting. You should uh, pay attention to what's going on in the news. You should do this. These are things that you should be doing. And lastly, and it's what you're doing right now by taking this class and watching this video, understand how our government works. You're in government class. That means you are learning and you're fulfilling a responsibility of being a good citizen. So that is what responsibilities and duties, some examples. So we already talked about how the free enterprise system is just another name for capitalism. So that's right here. So explain what a free enterprise system is. So it is an economic system that believes that individual ownership of capital goods, that means we, the individual, owns capital goods. That means buildings, that means farms, that means land, that means machinery. So that is like tangible things. That is things that we can see and touch. So we have we own capital goods. We also, as individuals, make private investment decisions. So I get to decide where I want to put my stock, where I want to put my money. But if I want to invest all my money into IBM or into GameStop, I can. If I want to put my money into something that's not good, like the lottery or something, well, I invested my money in something that's probably going to lose and not be great. So we all get to invest our money how we choose in a capitalist system or a free enterprise system. The government does not decide what we do with any of our decisions here, what we do with our capital goods, how we invest our money. The government does not decide what we do with it or how we do it. And also the success and or the failure of a business or a uh, place of buying and selling is all determined by the individual. The individual gets to decide if their business succeeds or their fails. My brother owns a restaurant. He really does. He does own a restaurant. And he, through his pricing and his reputation and his advertising, gets to decide if his business succeeds or it fails. The government doesn't get to say, "Oh, well, I like Chris is my brother. Chris's restaurant, so we're going to keep it open." If people don't buy it and if people don't go to his restaurant, well, it's going to go on under. But he's good. Now, this underlined part, please write this down. If you need to, through any part of this video, if you needed to pause and say, "Oh, Mr. Drew has a lot written here." Again, you don't have to write down every word I put, just what you think you need. Remember, these notes are for you, not necessarily everything I write down. The four factors of a free enterprise system is one, private ownership. The ownership of whatever you have is privately owned, not by the government. You need individual initiative. So you need to be the driving force. You need to have the motivation. You need to make sure things get done. You need to have initiative, individual initiative. Your business needs profit. If at some point your business does not start making a profit, your business is going to fall and it's going to go out of business. And lastly, there needs to be competition. If there's no competition, it's no longer capitalism. It's no longer a free enterprise system. It is a different form of government, not government, economic system. So I'm not going to explain that since that was your econ teacher's job. I am just going to teach you government. But this is important for you to know this. So get that written down. And lastly, how does a democracy and free enterprise system relate? Well, in short, they both believe in individual freedoms. The individual is the key word here. You notice in up here when I kept saying individual ownership, people are the individual is to decide what happens, not the government. I kept repeating that over and over because it is the core idea of democracy as well. The individual is important. The individual's freedom is important. So they both believe in the individual and their freedoms to choose and do as they please. So that is it for chapter 1. We have completed everything we need to complete. If you have any questions on this chapter or other chapters, please review the other videos I have. But if you still have questions and the videos in your notes are not answering what you need, please contact me or Mrs. Lucas, and we will answer whatever questions you have. A friendly reminder is that next week we do have a test on chapter 1. It'll be on Wednesday. If you were absent, you did not hear this in class, so I'm making sure you know now. We have a review posted in Schoology, and on Monday, I will be sending a message to you. We will be having an asynchronous day or a day you work at home. You will not be logging in to WebEx that day because the freshmen are going into the school and me and Miss Lucas have to be there. So make sure we are completing the assignments I send you. I'm going to be sending you all a message in Schoology. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching this longer video. I do appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.